Baby powder, mouthwash, and adhesive bandages. If I ask you to name brands of these products, chances are you will say Johnson's Baby Powder, Listerine, and Band-Aid respectively. Now what do these three brands have in common? Well, they are all brands of the company Johnson& Johnson or simply J&J. But did you know that these brands are just a small part of a bigger product portfolio of the company? What's more interesting is, these brands are not the biggest moneymaker of J&J as a company. So which is the actual revenue driver for J&J? And how do iconic brands like Johnson's Baby Powder, Listerine, and Band-Aid perform in terms of money making for the company? Welcome to Revenue Rabbit, where we uncover how companies make money. And for today's episode, let's learn about J&J and its healthcare products driving them billions of dollars in revenue. The short answer to this is J&J makes money through selling products from its pharmaceutical, medtech, and consumer health business segments. For the long answer, let's go back in time and talk a little bit about the history of J&J as a company. The founding of J&J was made by brothers Robert Wood Johnson, James Wood Johnson, and Edward Mead Johnson in 1886, after Robert Wood Johnson attended the 1876 World's Fair to represent his company. While Johnson was at the World's Fair, he came across Joseph Lister explaining about antiseptic surgery. The concept of antiseptic surgery simply means using items that will kill germs to create a sterile or germ-free environment before a doctor performs a surgery to a patient. Something like washing your hands with soap and water or rubbing alcohol on your hands before treating a wound. You see, doctors during the 1800s were doing surgeries and other types of medical procedures without doing these things. That means doing a brain surgery with dirty hands. Because of this, treatment of patients often lead to infections because of the dirty hands treating them. After hearing about the concept of antiseptic surgery, Johnson became inspired and saw this as the future of medicine, but more importantly, a business opportunity where he would supply products essential to giving a germ-free environment for doctors while performing a surgery. By 1886, J&J developed a line of ready-to-use sterile surgical dressings which they sold to doctors performing surgeries. The company started with a humble number of 14 employees in New Jersey producing and selling surgical supplies, household products, and medical guides. Medical guides was the important marketing strategy of the company during this time, given that the concept of performing antiseptic surgery is fairly new to the medical community. In 1888, the company published a medical guide called Modern Methods of Antiseptic Wound Treatment to help spread the practice of performing antiseptic surgery among doctors. The guide also contained information about the products being offered by J&J and instructions on how to effectively use them. A smart move by J&J, hitting two birds with one stone since they were revolutionizing how surgery was being performed by medical professionals and they were promoting their products at the same time. It was also in 1888 when J&J pioneered the production of commercial first aid kits initially designed to help railroad workers treat injuries related to their work. A few years later, the company published another medical guide which is the first aid manual containing best practices of leading physicians in conducting first aid to patients. The company did not stop with selling surgical supplies and first aid kits because in 1894, the iconic Johnson's Baby Powder was developed and released to the market. The baby powder was part of the company's initiative of offering maternity kits designed to make childbirth safer for both mothers and babies. It also started the development of different products which turned into iconic brands of today for the consumer health business segment of J&J. The consumer health products of the company started out with selling the world's first maternity kit which contained antiseptic soap, sanitary napkins, umbilical tape, and Johnson's Baby Powder which were later marketed separately. The company continued to produce products related to baby care under the Johnson's Baby brand following the success of their maternity kits. Soon after, the company was producing baby creams, baby oils, baby lotions, baby shampoos, baby wipes, sunscreen, and head-to-toe cleansers after centuries of operating as a business. Unfortunately, the original formulation of the Johnson's Baby Powder, which was talc-based, was discontinued in the United States and Canada last 2020, after over a century of production due to the discovery of trace amounts of asbestos in a bottle by the US Food and Drug Administration last October 2019. But it's not the end for the iconic product, as cornstarch-based baby powder produced by the company will continue to be sold in both countries and worldwide. So I guess we will still be seeing the product that started it all in the consumer health segment of the company. In 1920, a J&J employee named Earl Dixon invented the Band-Aid brand adhesive bandage, which is a small adhesive bandage used to treat small wounds. A year later, J&J mass-produced the product and marketed it to consumers, becoming the first commercial dressing for small wounds which they can apply themselves. Over the years, J&J expanded their portfolio of products related to baby care, maternity care, and even first aid. They later called the portfolio as Essential Health under the consumer health segment of the company, which focuses on products involving oral care, wound care, baby care, and women's health care for immediate use of consumers. Some notable brands under the portfolio are Listerine, Carefree, and Aveeno Baby. In 1959, J&J acquired McNeil Laboratories, which invented Tylenol, a pain relief medicine containing acetaminophen. If you ever had a headache, muscle pain, or cold and flu, chances are you have taken Tylenol to relieve it. J&J mass-produced the product and pushed Tylenol as a brand. Then a year later, it was able to sell Tylenol for the first time without a prescription. This means you can buy Tylenol in a local pharmacy nearby without a doctor's prescription. The company continued mass-producing, marketing, and selling over-the-counter products after this milestone. These products were then grouped into a product portfolio called Self-Care, which is still under the consumer health segment of the company. Some notable brands under the portfolio include Motrin, which is usually used as pain reliever for menstrual cramps, Zyrtec and Benadryl, which are antihistamine products used to relieve allergy symptoms, and Nicorette, which is a line of products for nicotine replacement therapy for people who want to quit smoking. In the 1990s, J&J continued business expansion through acquisition of more brands including Clean & Clear, Neutrogena, and Aveeno. These brands were then grouped into a separate product portfolio called Skin Health and Beauty under the consumer health segment, which aims to provide healthy and beautiful skin to consumers. Skincare in itself is a multi-billion industry, so for J&J to be positioned in this category through their multiple acquisitions makes them a force to reckon in terms of consumer health. At present, all these brands are available for us to buy directly in retail stores, pharmacies, or even online stores. Given this, we can technically say that these stores are the direct customers of J&J. That's because J&J actually sells these products directly to retail stores, pharmacies, e-commerce stores, and other distributors worldwide, then make money out of the sales. Now, the challenge lies on whether these customers would continue to buy their products and sell it to us, the general public. This is where marketing comes into the picture. You see, the general public are what we can call the primary demand generators who go to stores like pharmacies or online stores offering different brands of products and buy them. So if you buy a particular brand of product, you generate demand which signals that store to buy more of that brand from producing companies like J&J. This means the more you buy Band-Aid in your local pharmacy, the more that local pharmacy buys more Band-Aids from J&J, leading to more sales and ultimately more money for J&J as a company. Convincing us to buy a particular brand of product depends on many factors, but companies like J&J usually rely on marketing in the form of advertisements to do it. So the next time you see an ad for Band-Aid, remember that J&J is most likely marketing it for you to buy it from a nearby store, which will generate demand for the brand. J&J was so effective in doing this that in 2021, the consumer health segment was able to reach $14.6 billion in revenue. That means $14.6 billion worth of baby powder, Listerine, Tylenol, and Band-Aid sold to stores which you can then buy them from. In November 2021, J&J announced that it will separate the consumer health segment into a new publicly traded company. This means there will be a separate team dedicated to managing the products and brands under the segment and ultimately selling them to retailers, wholesalers, and other distributors to make money as a company. In 1931, J&J introduced the first prescription contraceptive gel due to the need for trusted family planning products at the time. This contraceptive product was called Orthogyno, which ultimately pioneered the pharmaceutical segment of the company. By 1961, the company was able to acquire Janssen Pharmaceutical, which is a company focused on the product development of pharmaceutical products like prescription medicines and vaccines. The acquisition led to J&J being a pillar of the pharmaceutical industry, developing products that will treat important diseases known to humankind, like schizophrenia, anemia, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, rheumatoid arthritis, plaque psoriasis, Ebola, prostate cancer, multiple myeloma, and most recently, COVID-19. At present, J&J identifies 6 important therapeutic areas that they focus on when it comes to developing pharmaceutical products. This includes immunology, cardiovascular and metabolic disease, pulmonary hypertension, infectious diseases and vaccines, neuroscience, and oncology. So if a patient has autoimmune disease, chances are the treatment they are undergoing involves the use of a product developed by J&J. Or if you have diabetes or hypertension, most probably some of your medications are made by J&J. With that, you can imagine J&J making a lot of money through the pharmaceutical segment. In fact, the segment is its most lucrative at present, having over $52 billion in revenue in 2021. That is more than 250% higher if you compare this revenue from their consumer health segment. But how exactly does J&J achieve a lucrative status with this segment? Well, through intellectual property protection. You see, J&J, or more specifically Janssen Pharmaceutica, develops these medications and treatments through investments in research and development. This means the company invests money, and a lot of money in that regard, to employees and scientists to do deep dives on medical conditions and invent or develop a product to treat them. Then the invented or developed product undergoes testing on whether it works on patients and how effective it is to treat the medical condition they have. This is known as a clinical trial. After successful clinical trials, the company then seeks intellectual property protection, which basically gives the company exclusive rights to selling the product they have invented or developed to treat the medical condition, making J&J the only one legitimate to sell the product they made for a period of time and prevent others from wrongfully profiting from it. Kinda like if you're a musician who writes original music and gets a copyright for the music you made so other people will not wrongfully copy and profit out of it. After getting the exclusive rights for the invented or developed medication or treatment by J&J, it then undergoes regulations before reaching the market for selling. The products they developed are then sold to pharmacies, hospitals, doctors, wholesalers, and distributors, which they then prescribe to patients who need the product to treat a certain medical condition. It works similar to how J&J sells their products from their consumer health segment. But instead of being heavy on marketing, the products under the pharmaceutical segment are heavy on research and development to ensure that the products they make are effective to treat a particular medical condition. As we have learned from the early years of J&J, they were the first to make antiseptic surgery mainstream through their sterile sutures kit and medical guides, and the first to mass-produce first aid kits. But their business growth went hand in hand with establishing and acquiring laboratories developing medical devices and technologies up to a point where it became a business segment of its own. In 1935, the Ortho Research Laboratories Incorporated was established by the company to focus on making women's health products. By 1944, the company established Ethicon Suture Laboratories, which was then rebranded into Ethicon after the acquisition of G.F. Merson Limited in the United Kingdom in 1947. Shortly after the rebranding of Ethicon, the laboratory was able to develop micropoint surgical needles and sutures, which is a reverse cutting ophthalmic needle pre-attached to the suture used in doing surgeries for the eyes. The technology allowed for a stronger and more precise incision and stitch during surgery. In 1959, Frontier Contact Lens Company, which was later rebranded to Johnson & Johnson Vision Care Incorporated, was founded to focus on developing technologies related to human vision. Then in 1998, J&J acquired Dupuis Incorporated, which was the first orthopedics company in the world, then later rebranded as Dupuis Synths, developing orthopedics-related technologies. With the powerhouse of laboratories and companies doing product research and development, coupled with continuous acquisition of companies producing medical technology, J&J was able to launch products that pioneered and revolutionized the practice of doing surgeries and other medical procedures. This group of laboratories and companies were then organized to be the medtech segment of J&J. Some notable products from the segment include the first synthetic suture becoming an industry standard in doing cardiac bypass surgery, the first disposable skin stapler used to easily and cleanly stitch operated wounds, the first mobile bearing knee system used for knee replacement surgeries, the first disposable soft contact lens, the first topical skin adhesive, which is a skin closure solution potentially replacing sutures, and many more. The medtech segment of J&J makes money through taking advantage of intellectual property protection, similar to the pharmaceutical segments, then selling it to retailers, wholesalers, hospitals, and pharmacies. The main difference of the two segments are the products and technologies they sell to their customers. The medtech segment is also a lucrative segment for J&J, getting over $27 billion in revenue in 2021. J&J is a great example of a company that is dedicated to advancing an industry which then improves the lives of people it touches. From its humble beginnings of revolutionizing healthcare through antiseptic surgery to the multiple acquisition of companies developing products that are highly valuable in the healthcare sector, I can say J&J is an inspiring tale of vision and service. As an excerpt of Our Credo by Robert Wood Johnson says, quote, "We believe our first responsibility is to patients, doctors and nurses, to mothers and fathers, and all others who use our products and services. In meeting their needs, everything we do must be of high quality. We must constantly strive to provide value, reduce our costs, and maintain reasonable prices." End quote. J&J has proven to be a great force in terms of giving value to people's health through its products. Well, this has been a fun rabbit hole. Let me know which company you want to tackle next.